Hey. This is Individual Perspective Podcast. I'm your host, Daris D. McKinney, and I just wanted to come in and get a feel of everything and kind of get you guys used to me popping up all the time. I got to get my numbers up there, so please like, subscribe. We're ghosts right now. This is a ghost podcast because most people don't know we exist, okay? But we're gonna work on that. We're gonna work on that day and night. We're gonna fight for it, and like I said, this is always a good thing. You got to start from ground level on something. I got years of this stuff. If you go into SoundCloud, if you go into Apple Podcasts, if you go into um, YouTube, Rumble, look up Individual Perspective Podcast, you will see I've been doing this for a long time, for a while. I technically started podcasting in 2008. I used to actually put it on the website, like video clips, you know what I mean, of all my podcast shows and stuff like that. Then I kind of went into like, working hard, and then I started going into like movies and stuff like that, and it kind of kept me away a little bit. But in between all that stuff, I did like a lot of um like I literally I got stuff that I communicated in the first 2015 when Trump came down the escalator, that still's prominent to this day and stuff like that. So I got a paper trail of my podcasting, and that I'm not just rolling on here, you know what I mean? That's why all the graphics and stuff, because I'm a filmmaker, I could do all this stuff. Even AI makes it easier for you, but I haven't really dipped into using AI for my thumbnails or graphics or podcasting and all the other stuff, which I will be implementing as we go, because we're going to turn it up. Okay. So, what I wanted to do is I wanted to come on and just kind of just dip in with you guys. I'm gonna log back on in about another couple hours because I want to kind of start doing the episodes where, like I said, yesterday's show. I told you guys I wanted to dip into the Epstein case because it's not that um that it's not what I'm hearing to be communicated. It's just everything is so fragmented and so noisy, and I think the enemy to the average persons, or even just to the majority of the citizens, are conservatives, are liberals, are the media, podcasters. The way that they communicate about the Epstein's case is very um trifling and messy, and it has no objectivity, and it has no factual analysis or even an objective way of looking at things. They all kind of take a side and everything like that. So I kind of wanted to do my own like deep dive on it. And it's so much information. I even seen that sometimes we would have to go 30 minutes into clips and 20 minutes into clips in order to analyze it in the totality of the investigation and everything like that. Then I got to go back into the beginning of this year and commentate all the things that happened from the beginning of this second term presidency of President Donald Trump all the way up to now, because so much stuff happened, Charlie Kirk and all that stuff, and I want to have context to that, the healthcare assassin and different stuff like that, and it's just brutal. It's just a lot of stuff with the Ukraine and Russia and the Gaza and all that stuff, Israel and all that crazy stuff like that. So and then relationships and the totality of the culture and everything like that, and then just America as a whole and how we are conducting ourselves with each other. And there's so much commentary that I haven't been able to do, and the reason why I haven't been able to do it is because I'm turning over 6 films to distribution because I'm a filmmaker, and I bust my butt on those 6 films for the last 6 to 8 years, and I kind of put myself in a major economic bind because I gave everything to those movies and stuff, and I didn't have a good equity financial backing to when I was doing that. So sometimes when you're out there, you got to do what you got to do, and sometimes you press and stress on your own life and your own leveling up and everything to get certain things accomplished and executed on. You will, like, when you do anything big, you will have to pay the piper of um sacrifice. And sometimes you might have to sacrifice luxury and comfortability and all that stuff in order to get something to its conclusion or get something to execution. So that's what happened to me. And so now I'm just telling myself, no matter what I'm doing, no matter what kind of hard work I'm doing, I got to try to find an hour or two or so to kind of come in and do my podcast on a day-to-day basis. And even if I'm stressed out or whatever, I gotta come on here, explain what's going on, or at the least kind of commentate something to you guys, because I think what individual perspective podcasting is it's very important for me to keep consistency with you guys. And please like, subscribe, follow Daris D McKinney, individual perspective. Okay, so individual perspective podcast is to kind of, like I told you yesterday, the purpose of this is to have your own identity, your individuality. Everything is structure, life, and the real true value of laws and rules and the interaction of human beings are based on individuality, meaning that, are you looking at the person across you and acknowledging their individuality? Vice versa, are they looking at you and acknowledging your individuality? Instead of putting you in a box, putting you in a social dynamic or economic dynamic that stagnates the growth of the relationship and the correspondence. And that's okay. People, you could be racist, you can be classist, you could be whatever you want, but there's a consequence to that. You're gonna miss great, valuable soldiers and partners and all kind of stuff when you kind of start to deal with people on that level and everything like that. But also, I know that a lot of winners, Steve Jobs has taught, if you learned anything from Steve Jobs, he always say, you got to try to put yourself around your like-minded people. So A-level people can't be around C-level people. You're dragged down the A-level person. So I do understand that, and I'm not saying that like leveling yourself up and like letting things pull you down, because even I learned that the hard way. You don't be around people that counteract what you're trying to get accomplished, what you're trying to do, how you think and how you have to move in this life, because that may not be in your best interest to see things everybody's way. So I seen that even in making the films. A lot of people, they had momentarily thought process and judgments and standards and stuff, but for the longevity and the full process of what the actual goal or the task is to do, they kind of fell short in it, and they thought process kind of fell short. It wasn't sustainable. So for me, I knew that mine is sustainable, so I got to go with my thought process more than anybody else, because I'm thinking of before, during, and after. And I have a deep structure for those periods. So once I see that you don't have anything that could counter, because I'm willing to give up mine. I'm willing to adjust to somebody else's greater thought process, because the best idea should work. But when I'm seeing that it's not, other ideas are not fully thought out, it's good for with your idea, what you got and what you think that should happen right now is good for right now. But what you're telling me that should happen right now doesn't actually give strength or stability to to where we gotta go. It will be good for this moment, but once we do it, it's gonna break apart later on because it doesn't sustain later on, and that's the problem. So I know that's just I'm trying to give you an understanding of even how I got to process even doing my podcast and doing individual perspective and the totality of doing this podcasting and everything like that. I upgraded a lot. You know, I'm still kind of I have other cameras that I can kind of use to show me, but I kind of said like until I'm like doing interviews or doing some major like decoration to my background or something like that, that I'll stay in this one. You can see my features pretty good. I don't think it's giving you a low, well, like where you can't actually see enough of me. Okay, so I got enough lights on and everything like that, and then my I upgrade audio and all that stuff like that, and we're gonna really do this good, and we're gonna give you something that you can enjoy. But please, if you wanna vet me, please go look at all the other stuff that I've done. Individual Perspective Podcast on Apple, on SoundCloud, on I think it's on Spotify also, Google, YouTube, and Rumble. So there's a totality of all my stuff that's out there. So it's not like you can't go listen to me talk for about 2 to 3 hours and see if I got substance to the things I'm communicating. I may not be the best articulating in the English dialect, but I'm pretty decent. I will say I'm decent enough to communicate to you guys. You know what I mean? I'm always improving. The more and more I do this, I'm kind of making sure that you'll hear me say I kind of a lot too. I'm trying to break that habit myself, but you'll see that I'm kind of collecting my thoughts or trying to articulate a thing in a way that may not offend YouTube and get me demonetized, or they cut my YouTube channel, because sometimes whatever I'm trying to communicate, I want to try to make it good for Rumble and good for YouTube for Rumble and TikTok and all that stuff like that. But sometimes some of the ways that you communicate something or you say something, even about relationships or races or race or political dynamics and stuff, can get you flagged. And so sometimes I'm trying to make sure that I articulate things that will be universally favorable. So you'll find me kind of hesitating on something, or gathering my thoughts, or articulating or slowing down to articulate something accurate, because I always tell myself I don't like pulling things from the channel. So if I do a podcast and then I got to pull it because it doesn't sustain or it doesn't hold up 10 to 20 years from now. Most of the time, once I do a podcast, that's it. Okay. So look, it's not going to be a long podcast episode or anything like that. It's just a continuation of what we talked about the previous day. And I just wanted to kind of come in and get my final thoughts on don't be influenced, and the influence war between you and them. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the last 5 years and during the pandemic and everything and going into the pandemic, the average person has given up the strength of their individuality or the value of themselves to the influencer culture and the level up culture. So a person that's working at GM or Chrysler or Ford that's making $50 to $60 to $70,000, he has no value, or she has no value, because the standard of even being a respectable person will be if you're making $100,000 and up. So what does that do? That makes it where, because we all know, if you look at the statistics and everything, the average person makes from $32,000 to about $47,000. The average person. That means if it's 350 million people in America, you got about 60 to 70% of them most likely make 32 to $47,000. And if you make the standard of respect of a human being's interaction, or even to interact with people, to be friends with people, to do business with people, to get in relationships with people, if you make the standard that none of those, nobody under $100,000 should be respected or looked at as a valuable human being or somebody that can be um like go on a journey of life with and everything. If you kind of look at it like that, then that means that you got um 60 to 70% of the population that you are establishing these are our enemies because they too broke or they don't make enough money or they don't have enough economic class or they don't have enough education or they don't have enough background for us to interact with them. It is a very much what have you done for me lately interaction that you have with these people. Then that makes it where we have the society that we have now where it's just everybody's trying to grab onto something and it's creating more division, more anger, more violence, more fragmented human dynamics and everything like that. I watch Christians and stuff like that call themselves Christians and everything, but they're like evaluating, they're ordering DoorDash and they're judging a DoorDash person's economic standing, and it's like, hey, I don't ever think from the creation of this country and the economic system and everything that you didn't have a 60-year-old person in a grocery store stocking, or a male lady or male man been in their 50s and they in their 40s and their 50s and their 60s. But how the level up culture and the social influencer culture is communicating, they're communicating that no one under 40 years old is supposed to be a garbage man. No one under I'm sorry, no one over 40 years old. Let me communicate that better, and I got to get off of here for a second. You'll find that most people are saying the level up culture and the influencer and the popularity culture is saying that no one over 40 years old, 30, 40 years old is supposed to be a male lady, a male man, a garbage man, a store stocker, a grocery store clerk, a cashier working at Popeyes, McDonald's, none of that stuff. Everybody over 30, 40 years old is supposed to be corporate, making six figures, entrepreneur, having your own business making about $250,000 to up and everything like that. And if we make that the standard of our society, knowing that every single manufacturing, everything that we build, that we eat, we actually outsource that stuff to other countries. The way that we deal with our meat, we can't even have a good production of meat, beef, steak, hamburgers, none of that stuff, pork. We can't have a good functionality of that without Brazil. That's how bad we did. So everything, our corn, our wheat, we outsourced everything. Our technology, our computers, all that stuff. We exported all that to China, Thailand, Ireland, Brazil, and even our oil. We not really stable economically, energy wise, without getting coal and oil and all that stuff from Venezuela and other countries and stuff like that. It's very sad. The amount of outsourcing that we put all our manufacturing, all our doing, we put it in Mexico and we put it in Canada. I guess I'm gonna have to do a part 3 to this. So because I gotta actually walk away from the computer for a second. But that's what I'm talking about. The individual perspective. I want you guys to see that the level of culture is probably breaking us. Okay, so I'll speak to you guys in a second.